Hiya then folks, welcome to Boating on a Budget with me, the tight Yorkshireman, and Dawn will be along in a bit. And talking of Dawn, you'll probably remember, if you've seen the last couple of episodes, which I'm sure you have, we kind of had a bit of a challenge because Dawn's been at work for the last last 2 days and today, and I've been working on the boat, so we were seeing what could I do in the time while she's at work. And I've got the panelling done on the bottom, got the wings done, got the ceiling battening done. Now it's time to tackle this area. And this is what's going to be a bit of a wardrobe. If you remember, there used to be the water tank here, but we had the idea of, we took that out and we're going to put a new one under the floor. One of the key bits to this then is going to be getting the insulation right, because obviously in there's going to be clothes. So we don't want condensation and damp building up in there. So I'm going to batten out round the sides and then put boarding across the bottom and the top with insulation, and then same round there, battens and insulation, and that'll make it all lovely and toasty warm in there. Probably a bit warmest part at boat, to be fair. While I'm doing this though, I have got to remember there's the fittings for the gas pipes under there. There's also the inlet for the water and the vent for the tank over there. So I need to make sure those areas are clear, not just as I come to fit them, but obviously they're things that we want to be easily accessible in the future. Obviously if for any reason we had to sort of change a gas line or a water pipe, we don't want to be having to strip half the boat out to get to it. So what I'll make sure I do is those sort of areas I'll leave so that it's like a little cubby hole and I can just get to that nice and easily. Must say this is kind of the bits that I'm kind of really looking forward to on the boat, because it's where I can be a bit creative. To be honest with this, especially what I'm doing today, I can't be that creative. I am basically just still doing insulation and boarding and things. But obviously this is not putting together a IKEA cabinet. This is actually building stuff from scratch and seeing what we can do. We also need to see exactly how high the bed's going to come up, because obviously I'm guessing the bed's going to end up somewhere about here, which will obviously mean we've still got the space behind, but we need to make the doors to the right height. There's no point making them down here and then finding we can't open them because of the bed. So anyway, enough waffle. I'll finish my brew and then I better get cracking, because I think Dawn were expecting a fully finished bedroom by the time she comes back. That's not looking very promising, is it? First job then, insulation down on the bottom. Got a couple of pieces. Hopefully you'll see I've cut the edges to shape, and I've done it in 2 sections again, so that as and when and if anything needs to come out, we can get to each part in turn. Let's try getting this in. Second one in. You might think obviously insulation, there's no strength in that, what am I doing using that as the floor? I'm now going to go and get a bit of plywood and we'll cut that to fit on top. But bearing in mind this is only a cupboard, like I say, I think we're going to have a rail across for a wardrobe bit in here to hang stuff, so there might be odd pairs of shoes and things on the bottom, and obviously it'll end up full of clutter, but yeah, so that's just the insulation. The boarding will then go on top, which will give it its strength. Plywood. Now I've got the piece of plywood cut to the right size, which you will notice I've left just a fraction short. That's because I don't want it getting jammed in there. This might have to come in and out at any time in the future. Last thing you want is it jammed in nice and tight, and then when you need to get it out you pull it and break it, and then you're back to square one. Obviously it needs this angle cutting on the corner. Easiest way of doing that, if I just measure the gap down here, which is 6 centimetres, transfer 6 centimetres over to that side, and then obviously if I then draw a line on there and cut that off, that'll give me the right angle. What I'll then do is just try flipping it over and sticking it on the other side, and if that also matches, which there's no guarantee being about that they're both going to be the same, but if it does match, I know the other piece I need to cut, I've already got my template ready for it. That's got that bit of flooring down then, that's going to be the inside of the cupboard. We're now going to have a look at getting something on this back section here. This is basically, if I pull it off, a bit of insulation I test fitted last night with a bit of Sikaflex, just to see how well that'd hold. And it does seem to be doing alright, so I think all I'm going to do for this back bit is literally just cut the insulation to size and then Sikaflex some insulation on. I can then perhaps put some of the plywood panelling on top of that, again just with a little bit of frame or Sikaflex. I'll then do these edges, get some more battens on here, just finish these bits off, leaving space for where we've got the water pipes and things. But that's pretty much following the same principle as what I've been doing for this flooring and the siding that we did on the last episode. Typically then, plan A didn't work. Trying to get the insulation to just stick direct to that, because it's sort of flexed, and also as it comes down there was nothing to hold the bottom, meant it was just coming off. Plan B, which is Sikaflex a few battens onto there that are cut nice and snug so that they're holding, and then obviously the insulation will screw onto that. There always has to be a plan B, and I think with some of these jobs we might get to plan Z before we actually get one that works properly. And I can hear in the background that kettle's boiling. That must be brew time. Having to glue these in like this with the Sikaflex is probably meaning that it's kind of spoiling the idea of being able to get these bottom bits out easily. But it's a sacrifice we're going to have to make, because I think it's more important to get these in. So I'll probably run a piece of wood across there, because I weren't going to do anything on the front, because we will be making doors and things in a framework. But I think for now I will just run a piece across the front, and that'll smarten that up. And that's what you call friction fit. Adhesive on the battens then. There's this old fitting that's a gas fitting. It's obviously been blocked up at some stage, you can't see through into the gas locker. So rather than messing with it, I'd rather leave it as it is. So I've just cut the little hole out, and obviously I'll pack the bit I've cut out back in afterwards. So we get this lined up. Beautiful. You'll see that I've had progress. It's a lot of fiddly work cutting all the right bits for the insulation to fit between all the gaps and into the corners, and sorting out bits. That's where the gas pipes come through, so I needed to make sure that bit's still accessible. Same with the water pipe here and the outlet pipe there. All faffing and fiddling, but I think we're about there with it. Squeeze that one in. So that's that all insulated. So I think I'll now insulate round the top of here before we look at doing this little bit here. It's in half a faff, this. Believe it or not, I've been at this nearly 3 hours now. Cutting these boards, cutting the insulation. Did I mention I had a brew as well? But yeah, you really don't appreciate how much time it takes until you get cracking with it. Because like I say, everything's just not quite square, and the piece that fits there is not the same as the piece that fits there. Alright, I'll stop now and then I'll crack on. To frame this out then, it's basically the same principle as what you've already seen me doing. Bit of Sikaflex on here, nice good dollops of it, and then and stick that in place. What I'm going to do to frame this section out is we'll have an upright there that'll be Sikaflexed into place, an upright at the end of the curve, and then there'll be one further down. The actual curve section, I can then cut the insulation so it follows the curve round. I might then need to get some flexi ply just to follow that curve round. I'm not sure if the stuff I've got, although it's quite thin, I'm not sure it's bendy enough to get around there, but we'll see. But yeah, so first off, it's just a few dollops of the good old Sikaflex again. That doesn't help that you've not got a nozzle on the end. Get it nice and square. This piece then curves, obviously like that one does. So let's show you basically how I've got the insulation to curve. If we measure that, that's sort of a gap at the front there of about 22 centimetres, just a fraction over. But obviously as it goes round the corner there, it's a little bit more. So if we do it just a touch more than 22 and a bit, maybe go to 25, 22.5, sorry. Then as we cut this, I'll try and show you best I can, but what I'm doing with the cut is I'm angling the blade in. So the front is 22 and a half, the back will then be sort of 22, and that'll allow me to push it into place. Because if I do it too big, it'll not go through the gap sort of thing. So I just need a little bit of give in there. If you see, that's how I've done it on the other side as well. Just sort of a little bit of an angle. And then what we're going to do on the back side of it is basically just use the width of the ruler, go down and score it. Obviously we're not cutting this right the way through, and I do apologise for the sound of the insulation being cut, because I know it is horrible, and especially on camera. For some reason the microphone tends to pick it up a lot more than it actually sounds in the bone. So we've got those. One thing I have got as well is there's a little nut and bolt there that sticks through, that's holding obviously part of the siding on. So I need to make sure that I'm not interfering with that, and obviously I don't just want to chop that nut and bolt off. So if I go in like that, keeping this hand well out of the way, sort of at half distance, and then cut those high enough up. Just pry those bits out. That should allow that nut and bolt to sit there without interfering with the fit, but also keeping as much insulation there as possible. So this is where we then open up the scores and then try and feed it into place. Looking at that might be just a touch too tall. So just take a bit off that. And round all this section, where it's going to be the wardrobe, and obviously we're going to have clothes and things in there, I'm going to get some of the expanding foam and just squirt that into all the little corners and everything before I board over it. We do want to make sure obviously that bit is 100% bone dry, not a drip of condensation. Nothing worse than getting up on a cold winter's morning to find half your clothes are damp. I'll continue on round then, insulating across there, and then a piece top there and bottom there, and that'll make sure all that section is nicely insulated. Yet more trimming and faffing. Clearly with how long this insulation's taking, I'm not going to get a great deal more done before it's time for the big reveal. Yeah, when Dawn's back. So leave me to it, I'll see what I can get done. Catch us in a second when Dawn's here. Wish me luck. look who's back from work then. What do we think?
Well, I think you might have not done a right lot.
What?
I'm just saying.
I've been right busy. I've got ceiling done, ceiling battens done.
Yeah.
I've got the siding on all down here.
Yeah.
I've got all this insulated and that were a right pain.
Yeah.
I were fed up to the back teeth with that.
And how many brews have you had?
Not many.
How many sit-downs have you had?
Hardly any.
How much talking have you done?
Not much.
How many brews has he had? How many sit-downs has he had? And how much chatting has he done? Come on, guys.
I have made progress though.
You have. I'm only joking.
Yeah. It does all take a lot longer than you kind of imagine, but that's working on a boat, and that's why when you see sort of people and they like buy a boat and they say, oh, we'll have it done in a few weeks. Nah, not when you're doing a full refit. It's months, not weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully people have liked this little trilogy, seeing what I could do in them 3 days. And I have made progress, albeit not enough.
You've made loads.
Yeah. So hopefully people have liked it, so they'll give us the thumbs up. There'll be somebody who gives us the thumbs down, there always is.
That don't matter, does it?
Hey ho. And like I said, drop any comments below as to what you think about what we've been doing and what have you. I'm sure people will be subscribed already, but if they're not, what do?
Need to press the bell.
You need to click the subscribe button and then press the little bell icon,
They do.
and that gives you notifications. And just to clarify, it is free to subscribe to the channel. There's no cost involved whatsoever. All that does is it purely means that you do get the notifications as we put the videos on. So I think then we better crack on and do some more work now. You're here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, by the way, can we have a brew?
we can have a brew because we've got the log burner working. Yeah, so we'll get that fired up and we'll make a brew and we'll get cracking.
Happy days.
And we'll see everyone later, folks. Bye bye.